I'm here with director Carlos Avila, and one of his films is Price of Glory.
They're punching guys into other time zones.
I'll give you $100,000, Sonny and Jimmy's contract. Throw in Johnny, I'll double the amount.
No deal.
I just need to talk to you different, not like your fighter, like your son.
I did what I know how to do so that you and your brothers could maybe have something that I never could have.
I don't know if you've heard about it, but we're going to talk about it. It's
Absolutely.
from the year 2000. It features the lead of Jimmy Smits
Yeah.
as the patriarch to this boxing family.
Yeah.
So listen, and it's got this great soundtrack, but it's Mexicans and boxing.
Yeah.
I'm in. Tell us how and why you did this film at that point in your career. How did this film happen?
It was very interesting the way it happened. I had just gotten out of film school. I had gone to UCLA graduate film school, and the producers of it was called The Ortegas, and it was based on a stage play by the boxing columnist for the New York Times, and his name was Phil Berger. He's passed away since. And Phil had written a lot of books on Mike Tyson, Joe Frazier. He's got this one beautiful collection of portraits of boxers and trainers called Punchlines that you can still find it. But, it was interesting. I was in San Antonio about 2 months ago, and I drove by the Zarzamora gym, and it was there that the Ayala family trained. And so the Ayala family was actually the initial inspiration for Price of Glory. Phil Berger had done a profile that's in Punchlines about the Ayala family. And there was a, Mexican-American family, a bit complicated relationships. There was a lot of dysfunction. There was a lot of physical abuse in the family. But the father was training this dynasty of young fighters, and they were all his sons. He had 4 sons that were boxing. And so he distilled that story. Phil distilled that story and created this stage play called The Ortegas. It was never produced as a stage play, but Shoreline Pictures, who still exist and still working, they optioned it and were going to develop it as a feature film. They had seen, the producers from Shoreline, Morris Ruskin specifically, had seen Distant Water, which was my thesis film from UCLA. And the original intent was it was going to be a low budget, made for $500,000 movie. And so Phil and I went on this long journey. It was like a 7-8 year journey to try to get the money together and to do an adaptation of the stage play that worked. And so I don't know if I'm giving you too much inside baseball information,
but the more the better. Let's get this timeline. So we're talking early 90s.
Maybe 93, 94.
Okay, let's say 93, 94, guys, because you need to understand that any independent film or film that gets made, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is that it took you guys 7 years just to secure the funding?
Yeah.
Okay. Please go on. We love this inside baseball stuff.
No, and so it was really, Phil and I got to know each other. At the time, there was some interest from the Sundance writing and directing lab to help us develop it. So we went to their lab, and we were able to workshop some of the scenes for the film. I had the wonderful actor Enrique Castillo play the Jimmy Smits part. I had I can't remember the young actor's part, but he played the Sonny Ortega part. And so we went to Sundance. We thought, oh my God, for sure we're going to be able to make it now, coming out of the labs, right? And then another, I think, 2 or 3 years transpired between that point the option lapsed, and then suddenly Esparza Cats, Moctezuma Esparza's company, they got involved. And so there was a partnership between Shoreline and Esparza Cats to try to make the film. At the time, New Line Cinema was an independent studio, and they were greenlighting a lot of films in the $10 million range. And so that was when it started to click. New Line had liked the subject matter. They liked the story. One other detail was that I had done my series Fotonovelas, which was essentially like a Latino Twilight Zone. And one of the episodes was a boxing episode. And so I was able to direct boxing sequences and everything. And so I used that as sort of my director's reel for Price of Glory.
Very smart. Very smart.
And it was very calculated. Bennett Cohen, who was the writer of that particular short film, it was nominated for a Humanitas Award. So it was very successful in and of itself, but the boxing sequences gave me a chance to play and to work with fight choreographer Benny Urquidez and
Benny the Jet.
And Benny the Jet came back for Price of Glory. So there was a lot of high level fight choreographers that were being pitched to me, but I said no. Benny cut me a deal for The Fix, that short film, and I'm loyal to Benny. I want to bring him back. And so
I love hearing stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so it was great to work with Benny again. But all those things, all those efforts to try to realize this film were all at play. New Line gave us the green light, and after a 7-8 year journey, I can't remember quite exactly, we were able to make the film. And I'm really grateful that we were able to make it, because I think it was 2 or 3 years later, Phil passed away.
But he got to see it.
And I remember one of my fondest professional memories of all time is that at the premiere, Phil came over and he gave me a kiss on the cheek. This big old tough New York journalist. He gave me a kiss on the cheek and he said, thank you. He was really proud that we were able to do it. And we did it together. We couldn't have been more different. Thoughtful, earnest filmmaker and this tough New York journalist. But we went on this journey and we frickin' did it.
Well, so that is amazing. That is amazing. So, let me back up, because all the elements came to be, but 7-8 year journey. How much were you eventually able to get a greenlit for? And then when did Jimmy Smits come in to be the lead for your film?
So, let's see. I think that was one of the main ingredients, is having Jimmy. He was finishing up his commitment to NYPD Blue. I'm trying to remember whether he had won an Emmy, but he had some heat, with those final episodes of NYPD Blue. His character, had a very memorable exit from that series. And so he was looking
Detective
for
Simone?
Bobby Simone.
Yeah.
And so Jimmy,
he was big.
and I mean, in my mind, he's still,
he's still big, but like when we're talking about, hey, he was in the Heights, guys. I love that movie.
Yeah.
But then back then he was like our shining star that was rising huge.
Yeah, he had a lot of heat on him, and so I think that was one of the pieces of the puzzle that was very attractive to the studio. And so I believe they greenlit the film at a $10 million budget. I think it ended up costing a little bit closer to 12, because, it's, I'm sure it's a familiar story to a lot of filmmakers, but, they're always trying to get you to hem things into a tighter schedule. And so we knew that we needed time to do the boxing. And, and so, those scenes grew a little bit. The shooting time grew a little bit for the boxing sequences. So, so it came in maybe a little bit closer to $12 million, which is still very modest, for a boxing movie that had, like big Las Vegas style boxing sequences in it.
It doesn't sound like a lot, guys, but $12 million is an incredible amount, especially for a filmmaker probably, at that time where you were used to maybe, tens of thousands, I mean, hundreds of thousands for your budgets. And you ended up filming this, like you said, where was it filmed in? Was the majority in New Mexico?
No, it was the majority of it was in Los Angeles.
There you
And,
go.
we shot at the Forum, we shot at the Olympic Auditorium, we shot at the Ambassador Hotel. Some of the boxing sequences were shot in the Ambassador Hotel. We shot at the Shrine Auditorium. And so we had, I'd say maybe 85% to 90% of the film was shot in Los Angeles. We did go to Nogales, Arizona for, I think it was 3 days. And you can see that in the film. There's some exteriors that we shot that, quite beautiful and take advantage of that location. And then we flew to Las Vegas. There's a little quick montage prior to the big fight at the end of the movie, and you can see the Las Vegas Strip. You can see our characters in that world.
Okay, so you were able to get Jimmy. You got all the you filmed all those mainly in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And it's a boxing family. It's a boxing story. The movie comes out. And another thing I wanted to add was that you had this incredible rock en español Latin soundtrack.
Yeah.
And at that time, that was never done before, especially with a Hollywood film.
Well, it was done on a certain scale for star maps. So Miguel Arteta.
And you just took me back.
Yeah. So that film did have some rock en español. And I remember it vividly because I think that preceded us by a year or two. And so there was some beautiful rock en español on that soundtrack as well. And it wasn't that I was consciously trying to use that concept for Price of Glory, but but it seemed like that music seemed to fit our world quite beautifully. In addition to that, we were able to, besides people like Artesio Pelados and
Manu Chao,
Mano Negra, his band Mano Negra. We also had Los Lobos, and we also, and I still regret not being in the studio for it, but it was one of the last recordings by the Texas Tornadoes. And they do a Spanish language cover of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire. And so, yeah, it's on there. And if you don't have the soundtrack, man, I'll send it to you because it's on there and it's spectacular.
Okay.
But
you physical media.
Flaco Jimenez, Freddie Fender before he passed. Augie
We play Hey Baby Que Paso in our live show intro. We play that every Monday.
So the Tornadoes, they was one of the last recordings that they did. Yeah.
So physical media lovers, you can pick up the Price of Glory, the DVD, still on Amazon, and maybe hunt down a CD of the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's still out there. I see it on eBay occasionally, but it's out there, and hopefully it'll get some kind of re-release. It'll get downloadable. Hopefully the film will eventually end up on, it's played internationally quite a bit, but I don't see it on Max, which is kind of the logical place that it would show up, because that's affiliated with Warner Brothers, who now has that library.
Okay, well, we're gonna raise a fuss, but maybe get that Kino Lorber, Blu-ray 4K, bro.
That's right. Fantastic. I love it.
I mean, we don't play around with our physical media.
That's great.
Carlos, you were saying to me it's been almost 25 years since the movie came out. That's wild.
Yeah.
That it is now grown a somewhat of a following, this film.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, and why do you think that's so?
We're having sort of a similar experience with, my wife did the costume design for Flaming Hot, and I think it takes a while for our audiences to, it's not that classic model that Hollywood tries to pursue every single weekend, where a movie comes out and the audiences will flock to the theaters. I think that's been disrupted quite a bit with streaming, with other ways to view content, films, and so I think that's always been a little bit of an issue with our community, is that we don't have that habit of going out on opening weekend to support films. And yet it's so critical in terms of the way that a film's success is evaluated by, the corporations that, provide funding for these types of multi-million dollar projects. So if you don't open with, Barbie numbers on opening weekend, then the film's considered a disappointment. So I think that Price of Glory, when it opened, it's been so long since I've looked at those box office numbers, but I think we opened third or fourth for a little film competing against big movies. I thought, hey, that's pretty good. But I think we were only in theaters for about 3 or 4 weeks. And so then, it went to the second run houses. Eventually it was released on DVD. And I think that's where the audience has found it. I told you the story of my wife being at a car wash a couple of years ago, and she had a Price of Glory t-shirt on, and people coming up to her and say, "Oh, that's my favorite movie." And so to hear those kinds of stories anecdotally, and then I've had conversations with Jimmy Smits and with Jon Seda,
Yeah.
who was also in the movie, and he said the same things, that people talk to him about Price of Glory. And so, because we don't have that, big blockbuster box office at the beginning, people think, okay, well, the film didn't reach the audience. Well, I would say in the world of physical media, which I have my video library right there, and I'm
Nice.
very proud of. I can't keep all the stuff that I have up here in my office. I have some of it in the garage, but people will find the film that way, and people pass it along. People will share it. It's in libraries. And so I think that it has found an audience that way. And so I'm very proud of that.
Well, I mean, it's Jimmy, it's boxing, it's exciting. Jon Seda. I mean, Carlos is gonna. Oh, baby, hold on a second. Here we
See,
go.
that's what you're looking for.
Here we go.
That's what you want.
Here we go. Here we go.
Except no substitutions, man. That's it. That's what it looks like. So, like I said, I mean, it's still available.
Can we see the back? Can we see the back cover?
Sure.
Would you mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to see all that, baby.
Absolutely.
Okay, so two things, guys. This is Carlos's film he directed. You can get this on Amazon, but also too, you can now watch that on what did I say, Tubi?
You said Tubi, yeah. So I didn't know that. I'm gonna go and look it up.
Yep. It's on. It is. You can view it on Tubi, but guys, get the physical media.
Yeah.
Get the physical media. It does trickle back. Well, thank you for the little retrospective on Price of Glory. It's great that Jimmy and John can run into you and, hey, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's all over the country.
Wild.
People in Texas, we've run into people in Texas. Oh, Price of Glory, you did Price of Glory, and their faces light up talking about the film. And so I've had that experience with the film, and, very, very proud of having been involved. You invest so many years of your life just trying to get these projects off the ground. So it's nice that you are in fact reaching people. Absolutely. That's great.
All right, Carlos.
right,
We're gonna end this. All his links to him and his career in the video box description. Take care, everyone. Paz.
All right, brother. Thanks.